The Marvel Cinematic Universe is jam-packed full of amazing characters from the pages of Marvel comic books, but the continued expansion of the franchise means there are a lot more to come, and in this video we'll run you through just some of them. We'll avoid characters who are absolutely confirmed. The likes of Captain Marvel and Adam Warlock are obviously on their way, and base this more on speculation, probability, and indeed, hope. Here are 25 characters we can expect to see in the upcoming Marvel movies. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of Screen Rant's great new videos.
No more slaves, just free people.
While it's unlikely that we'll see Man-Thing or By-Beast in the MCU anytime soon, there were a couple of the Grandmaster's former champions sculpted onto his tower that we do expect to see. One of whom is the Korbinite warrior Beta Ray Bill, who has strong connections to Thor, as well as his new weapon Stormbreaker in the comics. Ares is the other character from that tower who we can expect to see in the franchise at some point. He's the Greek god of war and a character who has walked the line between hero and villain in the comics. We've seen the Norse gods in the MCU, so there's no reason Greek gods shouldn't be introduced soon. And Ares would potentially bring with him the likes of Zeus, Hercules, and Pluto. Namor the Sub-Mariner is one of Marvel's oldest characters, and it's a real shame we haven't seen him in live action to date. He has, however, been hinted at in the MCU, when Atlantis was seemingly highlighted on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s map of superhero hotspots in Iron Man 2. Wakanda was on that map, and Black Panther happened 8 years later, so Namor could soon follow, assuming the rights issues regarding that character are sorted out. Kevin Feige has stated that Nova, otherwise known as Richard Rider, is a character Marvel Studios have been considering bringing to the MCU for some time. Now that the Nova Corps have been seemingly destroyed by Thanos, that should be the trigger to finally make that happen. In the comics, Rider became Nova when the last surviving member of the Corps, Roman Day, was dying. John C. Reilly played Day in the MCU, and he may have passed the torch in his dying moments after the Mad Titan decimated Xandar. Quasar has been touted as a potential addition to the MCU ever since Project Pegasus was seen in the background of 2012's Avengers movie. Wendell Vaughn, as he's known in the comics, was a S.H.I.E.L.D. employee and the head of security on the aforementioned project. Then he got his hands on the quantum bands and became a cosmic hero. Expect him to arrive in Phase 4 when the franchise heads further into the cosmos. The MCU is starting to stock up on its awesome female characters, and Moondragon would be a great way to keep that trend going, and there's every chance it'll happen. She's a master martial artist and a powerful telepath, which is another thing the MCU lacks, so she'd tick more than one box, and her links to both the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy double her chances of becoming a welcome addition to the franchise. Speaking of kick-ass females, they don't come much more kick-ass than She-Hulk, and we can surely expect her to join the MCU sooner rather than later. Jennifer Walters, Bruce Banner's cousin, is an awesome character who's associated with existing MCU entities like the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D., and there's always room for another Hulk in the franchise. Speaking of which, how cool would it be to see the Red Hulk join the MCU? The reintroduction of General Ross to the franchise makes you think they must have plans for him, and given that it's Ross who became the Red Hulk in the comics, the Crimson Brute could be the culmination of those plans. Seeing two Hulks battling it out in live action would be amazing. The MCU has, of course, now opened its doors to a potential influx of mystical and supernatural characters. Clea should certainly be one of the next to join the franchise, as she's an integral part of a certain Doctor Strange's history in the comics. She's a love interest of the Sorcerer Supreme and the niece of the already introduced villain Dormammu, which certainly makes her relationship with Strange, well, intriguing. You thought I'd say strange, didn't you? Another character from the supernatural side of Marvel, and one fans would love to see back on the screen and in the MCU, is Blade. The character's introduction is inevitable in Phase 4, and it'll be awesome to see some vampires in the franchise. But will the actor cast in the role be able to live up to Wesley Snipes' version? Only time will tell. When it comes to supernatural villains, they don't get much cooler than Mephisto, who is essentially Marvel's version of the devil, and Doctor Strange is sure to lock horns with the demon at some stage in the MCU. Some fans expected him to show up alongside Thanos in Avengers Infinity War, like he did in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book arc, but they'll have to wait just a little bit longer. He will, however, definitely appear soon. On another Thanos-related note, now that the Mad Titan's been introduced properly to the MCU, surely we'll see his son, Thane, in the franchise at some point. Thane is the offspring of the Mad Titan and an unnamed Inhuman woman. and he's a peaceful character who spent his life as a healer until his father headed to Earth to kill him. That was a big story in the comics in recent years, and it would be interesting to see it on the big screen. Spider-Man is, of course, part of the MCU now, and although he was erased from existence at the end of Avengers Infinity War, we all know he's coming back. With that in mind, no Spider-Man universe is ever complete without his arch-nemesis, Norman Osborn. In the MCU, he wouldn't even have to be the Green Goblin. He could form the Dark Avengers and operate in the background as the big bad of the entire franchise, which would be pretty sweet. Spider-Man definitely needs more villains, however, and it would be cool to use some who've never been seen in live action before. Kraven the Hunter could be one such example, and given that Ryan Coogler wanted to use Kraven in Black Panther but was told he couldn't, Marvel Studios probably have plans to use the character in a future Spidey offering. As we touched upon in the intro, Adam Warlock is definitely coming to the MCU. What isn't definite is the potential introduction of the Magus, but we can surely expect that to happen, given that he's the dark aspect of Warlock's very being. He's an incredibly powerful villain who would pose all kinds of problems to the heroes of the franchise, and he could even become the MCU's big bad. As the MCU goes more cosmic characters will be arriving, one of which will be Michael Korvac. The cyborg villain has caused problems for the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Doctor Strange in the comics, and he's even fought on behalf of the Grandmaster, all of whom are already established in the MCU. He's enormously powerful, and his look would translate brilliantly to the big screen. Captain Britain would be an excellent addition to the MCU, and Kevin Feige has gone on record saying that discussions have taken place about potentially making that happen. So his arrival may be imminent. He's worked for MI13 and is mystical in nature, so he could easily be connected to two characters played by Sherlock stars, Everett Ross and Doctor Strange, and having a bona fide British superhero in the franchise would be very cool. It's going to be very hard to top the likes of Thor, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and indeed the imminently arriving Captain Marvel in terms of power in the MCU. But the Sentry would certainly do that, and we can surely expect him soon. Robert Reynolds is an incredibly powerful character with an amazing backstory, and he would bring with him the Void, the terrifying dark entity projected as a side effect of his powers. The MCU is sorely lacking in true cosmic entities, and the introduction of the Beyonder would rectify that emphatically. He's the sum total of an entire multiverse and the nigh omnipotent being responsible for the Secret Wars event, something that's been touted as a potential arc in Phase 4. Therefore, he'd be an extremely exciting addition to the franchise, because Secret Wars in live action would be incredible. There's been a lot of talk about Disney buying Fox, and if that happens, some superb characters would come as part of the deal. Dr. Doom would be one of them, and while there's also been talk of a standalone Doom movie, it probably won't happen. Having Marvel's most iconic villain in its flagship movie franchise is essentially going forward, and his expertise in both science and magic would provide a very different threat to anything seen before in the MCU. Kang the Conqueror is another villain whose rights currently lie with Fox that we can expect to see in the MCU soon, especially now that time travel is becoming a thing in the franchise. Kang is from the 30th century and is very much like Dr. Doom, although his tech is even better and he lacks the mystical skills of his green-hooded counterpart. He'd definitely be an excellent addition to the franchise. Without a doubt, the character who most deserve a shot in the MCU are the Fantastic Four, and we're including them as one entry here because you simply can't have Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm without the others. Marvel's first family have been treated rather shambolically on the big screen to date, and it's about time Marvel Studios produced a faithful live-action depiction. It's surely only a matter of time before that happens, assuming the Disney-Fox deal goes through. Of course, the most exciting thing about the Disney-Fox deal is the potential arrival of the X-Men, and of course mutants in general, to the MCU. This will happen if that deal goes ahead as expected, and it will be cool as hell to see the likes of Wolverine, Storm, Cyclops, Iceman, Professor X, Magneto, and Mystique in the same universe as existing MCU characters like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Scarlet Witch. The Fantastic Four and X-Men aren't the only groups of characters we should expect to see soon in the MCU. The Eternals are surely on their way to the franchise, now that Thanos has become a big player and Alars was name-dropped in Avengers Infinity War, especially given that Kevin Feige has spoken of his desire to get the group onto the big screen. Seeing the likes of Sersi, Star Fox, Makari, and Kronos in live action would be superb. It's going to be hard to top an Infinity Gauntlet wielding Thanos as the big bad of the MCU, but Galactus would certainly be up for the task. And he'll certainly come to the MCU if Disney does end up acquiring Fox. The planet-devouring cosmic Goliath would also bring along his heralds, including the likes of the Silver Surfer, Terrax, and Firelord, and that's a pretty exciting proposition.
You would refuse Galactus?
And that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy it? Which new characters do you think we'll see in the MCU in the coming years? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos just like this one. Bye for now.